Okay, folks, here's what we are going to do. Right now, I am going to sculpt a human hand in some dynamic pose. I will do it in real time, and I will only spend no more than an hour. This is the limit I'm setting for myself here. So we have very limited time, so let's start. How do I approach sculpting a hand? One way would be to, here I have a sphere, and know that I have the floor turned on. I always have it turned on at the beginning of sculpting, so I know where the floor is, because otherwise Zbrush gives no indication. And I also have symmetry on, but I will not need symmetry, actually, for a hand sculpt, because it is not symmetrical. And one way would be to just use a sphere, and many artists do that, and just try to make a hand that way by pulling polygons and then doing Dynamesh or something like that, then pulling some more, doing more Dynamesh, and which rebuilds the topology. But I don't like this method because it does not give you enough precision, and I think it even takes longer. So I start a complex anatomical project like that. I start with primitives, basic primitives. So how do I do that? I start with a cylinder. What does the cylinder represent in our case? Make Polymesh 3D. It represents a wrist. So I make it slightly longer, and also I'm not using references, I have to say, and there are two reasons for that. Two reasons. One being that I do know the anatomy of hand well enough. The second, I'm just duplicating the cylinder and position, because this is the wrist, and the next one will be the palm of the hand. And the second reason is that I have, or maybe I should not use the cylinder for this part. Let me delete this one. I can always use my own hand. Subtool append. I will use. I hope microphone is catching all this, because I'm not talking directly into the microphone right now. Adjust it a little. I'll append the sphere right here. And for the most part, when you are building something like that, something with human proportions or humanoid proportions, cylinders and spheres should be enough to capture the basic shape, and that is all you need. And you can do it pretty quickly. That's why I've set a limit of an hour. An hour is actually not a small amount of time when it comes to sculpting, because you can, if you are confident enough, you can do it pretty quickly. And yeah, I have decided that I will be making. Let me switch to the cylinder. I will be making a palm out of sphere, and now I will need another cylinder, because I'm not very careful right now with my shapes and things like that, because those are individual primitives. I can always adjust them later, and I can always restructure their topology individually. Right now I'm taking this cylinder, and I am going to scale it down a bit. Also, I'm going to save the progress, make it a habit. Every few minutes you save your progress, and I also have let me restore. Sometimes ZBrush for some reason resets the interface, and I have to custom UI, config, restore custom user interface, like that, and I have scaling right here. It shifts it a little, but it's okay. I forgot what I was talking about, actually. Sorry about that. I will also have a different version of this video where it is not real time but sped up several times, because some people like to watch it in real time, other people prefer sped up version. Both versions will be equipped with my comments, but those will be different comments. So I sort of have already in my mind, because I was thinking about this video for several days, I have envisioned the kind of pose I want. And by the way, if I will be able to finish in a reasonable way this hand sculpture before 1 hour expires, then it will be a shorter lesson. If it will take longer, then it will be a little unfinished, I suppose, but I think I can get a pretty reasonable sculpt in an hour or less. Yeah, I have an idea for what type of sculpt I want, and it is very important. Hands are considered among the most complicated things you can sculpt or draw. One of the most complicated thing in art. Hands and feet. They're both quite complicated in their own way, but hands perhaps are more complicated, and certainly they are more common because hands, you have shoes on your feet most of the time, but hands are almost always exposed. So if you are not confident with hands, you will have hard time. And the best way to learn how to deal with hands is to draw. Drawing, I think, is more important than sculpting when it comes to understanding shapes, because when you draw, you are on your own with a shape you are trying to convey. Whereas with sculpting, especially with digital sculpting, you just you don't have to wrap your head around the whole shape. When you're drawing, it's just you and the pencil. Here in 3D, it is a little bit easier, I find. But anyway, when it comes to things like this, different hand poses, it's important to remember that fingers, they don't point straight all the time. They will point straight when they are close together. But here, the fingers are not, and you can sort of spread your fingers, and you will see that when you spread your fingers, a curious thing happens. They sort of, turn inwards a little bit, and they sort of take a shape as if they are on a sphere, right? And note that I'm not creating new cylinders, I'm just duplicating what I have. And it is a great exercise, actually. I believe when you're dealing with anatomy, it helps to always start with primitives. The same goes for drawings, actually. When you do drawings of complicated, anatomically complicated figures, or basically pretty much anything that is more complicated than a sphere or cylinder, you always start, taking a sip of coffee here, you always start with a cylinder anyway. So, and I'm looking at my own hand. I'm right-handed. I'm sculpting with my right hand, and I'm using periodically, I'm taking my other hand from the keyboard where I have my hotkeys, and I look at it in a pose I have envisioned, and you will see it soon enough. So here it is, right? I will adjust the palm a little bit, so you're going back and forth between the primitives, and again, the palm is not straight. Remember that the palm consists of the same bone structure, like, let me grab, same bone structure underneath it, right? Like this, only they are connected with ligaments or things like that, in such a way that you cannot spread them. You can even think of a finger as having not 3 but 4 joints, the fourth being part of the palm, and therefore it is not like a straight brick, the palm. The palm is curved inwards for the most part, not always because it's flexible, but oftentimes it is curved inwards, something like that. Talking about this digit right here, and note that I'm not trying to create one finger then switching to the next finger. I'm sort of going from finger to finger, and that is important. That is important because otherwise it's like with drawing. And I believe even if you are a modeler, it doesn't matter what type of modeler. Maybe you are modeling weapons all the time, or tanks, or any other hard surface stuff. It still helps to draw, because drawing changes your perspective. Anyway, again, what I was talking about. I'm talking so quickly, and it is a little hard to sculpt and talk at the same time. But bear with me. So I was talking about the fingers. Yeah. You are not sculpting everything at the same time anymore. That you would be drawing one part of the body. For instance, you are drawing a hand or a whole figure, and you are always working with a whole figure first, because you need a plan. You need a plan, otherwise you don't know what you are doing. If you are focusing on one leg or one finger, you will never create a comprehensive, unified structure. And note what is happening here. The first two fingers, they are not looking straight, but they are straighter than the other two. The middle finger, the index finger, and then we have the, what is it called? These other two fingers, the pinky and the this one, they are curved inwards much more noticeably than the rest. And these three fingers here, they are not very different in size. They are approximately the same size, whereas the pinky is different. It is a smaller finger, and it is also more sort of less connected to the rest of them. The reason that you cannot move your fingers freely, right? Where's the scaling? Here's the scaling. Is that the different fingers sometimes are connected to the same muscles. You have a very, very complicated muscle structure in your forearm. It is the most complicated muscle structure in the entire body. Like the hand with the fingers is on the surface, and it is complicated enough. But if you are studying anatomy and you want to go, and these fingers are not complete yet, because I will go in and I will add the final digit to each finger. The forearm is very, very complicated. Maybe in one of the future videos, because I'm considering making this channel more anatomically focused, because I've noticed that people react much better on this channel when I'm talking about something anatomy related, right? So we already have the base, and let me just save the progress once again, like so. And let me append a sphere. Why do I want to append? What is append? Append a sphere, you might ask. I'm also, by the way, I'm working on a display monitor, on a Cintiq, and I find it extremely like light years better than a standard tablet. I know oftentimes you hear from different artists that no, it is not the tablet that matters. It is your skill level, etc., etc. And they are not wrong. They are correct, of course. If you have the tools which you cannot take advantage of because your skill level is not there, that is one thing. But objectively speaking, of course, it's better to draw when you see right in front of you what is going on. Instead of, it took me a while to adopt, and it was a long time ago. It was like 15, 16 years ago when I first started drawing and modeling on a tablet. Took me a while. Took me like several months to adopt. And I still haven't completely fully adopted to this like look at the monitor and draw on a tablet kind of mentality. So last year I finally, I got myself a Cintiq again, but this time a bigger one. And note what I'm doing. There are bumps on the surface, obviously. On the surface of a knuckles on the surface. Well, you understand what I'm talking about. And I'm trying to represent the topology with primitives also, right? Because it will simplify things down the road. So I'm very happy with the larger Cintiq. It's more comfortable to work with, and it's indispensable when you're drawing. And when I'm talking about drawing, I mean drawing, the actual drawing, not shading or something like that. The actual line work. That is where it really improves the game. So yeah, I'm using a Cintiq, very happy about it. I recommend it. Because maybe it will not improve your... Why there are two spheres? Okay, I'll delete one of them. Maybe it will not improve the quality of your work right away. No, not like that. Hold on, to group. Delete hidden. But what it does for me